Good day, viewers and listeners alike. My name still remains Harry Emeka. I am your storyteller, and I bring you folktale stories. Today's story has to do with why the tortoise has a cracked shell. Happy listening. Once upon a time, all the birds were called for a feast in the sky. That brought about a lot of excitement for them as they had experienced a long period of drought. Now, the tortoise was amongst the animals that eagerly anticipated the feast, for he was one of the most prominent and wisest of all the animals. But then, he had a challenge. He had no wings, and so could not fly to the sky for the feast. The issue gave him sleepless nights until he came up with an idea. He would talk to the birds and plead with them to borrow him their wings, as that would enable him fly with them to the sky. He eventually met with the birds and pleaded with them. They all agreed to give him a piece of their feathers, which made him very happy and relaxed. As such, he started planning for the feast properly. Tortoise was known to be a cunning and an ungrateful person. He devised a means of tricking all the other birds. He asked all the birds to pick up names for themselves. The birds, not knowing the motive for such, excitedly assigned names to themselves. But the tortoise chose everybody or everyone as his name. The animals were puzzled by his choice for a name, but then they thought nothing of it, since they did not know the motive behind such. On the day of the feast, all the birds were excited and gathered together for the journey, which they made and arrived at the venue of the feast. Their hosts were glad to see them and in no time started bringing out all they had prepared for the birds. And at each instance, anything they brought out, they usually said, "This belongs to everybody." Tortoise made it a point of duty to remind them, or the birds, that they had all picked names for themselves before coming to the feast, which they admitted. Now it was time for them to answer their names, and as they remembered, he had chosen everybody or everyone as his name, to which the other animals also nodded in agreement. Now, our hosts have brought us refreshment and told us it is for everyone. And who amongst us bears such a name, if not me? Asked the tortoise. So the food and every other thing set before us is for me alone, Tortoise had declared. That was when reality dawned on them all. They all became very annoyed and were very furious as they watched the tortoise eat all the food and drank all the wine that was meant for them all. They all decided that they would teach him an unforgettable lesson. In their anger, all the birds demanded for their various feathers and asked him to find his way back on his own at the end of the feast. That was when the tortoise noticed his dilemma. He had no feathers to fly back home with. As As such, he started begging for assistance to enable him go back home. But none of the birds agreed to help him. To them, it was good riddance to bad rubbish. Serves him right, some said. Let's see how he comes out of these situations, others thought. No one would offer any assistance. As such, the tortoise began to think of another strategy or another way out. He called upon a small bird that was about leaving to please take a message to the wife. He begged the birds to tell the wife to bring out all the soft items in their house and line them up for him so that he would jump from the sky and not hurt himself. The little bird agreed to do exactly that. But upon getting to Tortoise's home, he told Tortoise's wife the exact opposite of what her husband had said. You should bring out all the hard substances in our house, which includes stones, nails, rocks, and the like, for me, so that I can jump from the sky, said the little bird to Tortoise's wife. Tortoise's wife immediately set about doing just that. Meanwhile, the tortoise looked down from up there in the sky and sighted the movements taking place in his compound. Although not knowing what the items were, he nodded in satisfaction and was happy with his idea of having scored another massive point over the birds. Without wasting further time, he jumped from the sky only to come crashing into the hard substances lined up for him. The crash was quite a disaster, as his shells were broken or cracked into several pieces and had to be sewn back together so that he could keep living. And that was how the tortoise, even to this day, still has cracks on his shell or partitions showing where the shells were joined together back again. Now, if you enjoyed that story, never fail to click on like and subscribe to our channel. I still remain your presenter, Harry Emeka. Until I come your way some other time, please do stay blessed.